This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
You know, that's the one that needs to be played, the Bing version of, White Christmas.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm more impressed by. The fact that he knew song title and artist, or that he got him right.
Well, every once in a while, a blind squirrel finds a nut, I will tell you, the other night I heard, I walked into the store and I heard Blue Christmas on, and, I used to work with a guy who would say it's not Christmas until he plays Elvis's Blue Christmas. And it wasn't the Elvis version, but it was still Blue Christmas. I'm like, well, it's not Christmas until you hear Blue Christmas, but it wasn't Elvis's.
Did he like the song?
This buddy of mine?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
So why wouldn't he just play it immediately?
What? It wasn't him. I walked into a store and they were playing a different version of Blue Christmas.
Okay, but you're saying like your buddy's like, well, it's not Christmas till I play the song. Well, just play it.
Play it. Yeah, right. No, I think he had a.
What are we looking for?
I think he had kind of a specific day, if I remember correctly, that he played it. We get this from the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Hey, Chuck, Coach Wood said onboarding. I know, I caught that too, and I kind of rolled my eyes. I'm like, what are you doing, man? Are you filling out paperwork? Is this the insurance stuff?
What did he mean by that?
I don't know. I mean, usually onboarding is like the pesky paperwork, right? Your banking information, your insurance, all that kind of stuff. Plus, and I don't know if they still have to do this or not, but I think at some point in time, I think maybe it's more the head coaches than maybe the assistants too. They have to pass a rules test or an NCAA compliance test. Although I think it's probably a pretty short test now. Will you promise to get bags of money to the players? Yes. Will you do it in a legal fashion? Yes.
Is there an illegal fashion at this point?
I mean, I don't know anymore. I mean, it's changed. It's changed so much. I'm sure. I'm sure that, but I did catch that, and that is one of those words that kind of these new century words that kind of just make me kind of just you're just doing the paperwork, man. You're just doing the paperwork. I
didn't really know what he meant
by onboarding. Yeah. That's when you have the new hires. You're like, well, we're going to onboard you, or you have a new thing in your company, and you're a new product or whatever, and you're all kind of signing. I mean, well, we got to get you onboarded, meaning. Like
that's not like on Donner and on Blitzen.
No, you're getting on board the ship.
Onboarding is different.
Yeah, onboarding. We got to get you onboarding here. Somebody says Balfour played the whole season. I didn't mean to infer that he didn't, because the other guy didn't. And then the other guy that you got coming in, the offensive lineman, he was dinged up. He didn't play last year either. So 2 of the 3 guys you got coming in so far are going to be fresh.
That's good. Fresh legs.
Fresh. They're going to be fresh. I forget what school it was. I can't remember what school it was, so I just won't say it. It wasn't Texas Tech, okay? It wasn't anybody in the Big 12. But this guy he gave his demands of what he wanted for a school, and they said no. But he wanted like $45,000 a month. He wanted to be guaranteed the starting position, blah, blah, blah. Well, he had all these demands, and it's just like, well, it kind of works that way, I guess, but it kind of doesn't work that way. You still have to earn it, right?
I'm sure if he was a superstar, if he was a quarterback, they probably would have said yes.
Yeah, right. Here's some news from last night. This that relates to Lubbock and Texas Tech. Guess who the new offensive coordinator is at Arizona?
Who?
Seth Deggy.
Okay, good for Seth.
Yeah, Arizona is set to hire Marshall's Seth Deggy as its new offensive coordinator, sources confirmed to ESPN last night. Deggy, a former Texas Tech quarterback who played in the CFL, had been in his first season at Marshall as its offensive coordinator. He'll receive a 2-year deal. That's quite a move up for him, obviously going from Marshall to Arizona, but just, when he got out of football, he was like getting out of football. He was going to go into the business world. And then I think he did some stuff for Texas Tech for Coach Kingsbury that was it wasn't volunteer, but it was pretty close to being volunteer, in terms of the amount of money that he was making. But it was like, well, I want to get in. Well, this is how you get in. And that gamble has paid off for him.
Okay.
So good for Seth. I bet the Arizona Wildcats had fired their offensive coordinator, Dino Babers, after they went 4-8, and the team dropped to 115th nationally in scoring. As far as Marshall, they won 10 games this year in the Sun Belt Conference Championship. And
then they let go of their coach, and their whole team hit the portal.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah. Right. Prior to Marshall, Diggy had been the tight ends coach at Purdue under Graham Harrell. He also spent time at Ole Miss, USC, and Bowling Green. Bowling Green, he spent time there with a former Mike. Was it Mike Dinkins? Was that his name?
Mike Jenkins.
Mike Jenkins. Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, I got the INS. I got the rind, at least.
Jenkins.
Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So pretty cool. Good for Seth.
Yeah,
good for Seth.
That's great.
Yeah. 6:38 this morning here on the morning drive. Somebody says this. This is probably a human resources person or somebody that's new in the not new, but I mean just newer, younger than me, which is almost everybody now. Onboarding is also touring the facilities, learning about the quote company culture, being introduced to all the staff, etc. Yeah.
If we brought a new person in and they got to learn about the company culture
here,
what would they learn? Lots and lots of shenanigans.
Lots and lots of shenanigans. They would learn that we have pockets of culture. Okay, we got a little culture over here. We got a little culture over here. We got a little culture over here. We got a little culture over here.
What is the culture of Double T 97.3/100.7 The Score?
We are hardworking. We are tenacious. We effort to be entertaining. We're not always successful at that. We
lie through our teeth.
We try to keep.
Happy. If I was just going to shorten it, I would say we talk a lot.
Well, it was sports talk station, right?
We talk a lot.
You can't just sit there and go, and wait for somebody else.
Yeah, but it's not just about sports. We talk a lot.
Yeah. I mean, it's just we're having breakfast together, And then like the afternoon guys, you're having a beer together.
I'm not talking about when we're actually doing our job on the air. I was talking about when we're off the air.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we still talk a lot.
Just a group that talks a lot.
Yeah. Then Jamie shuts his door and he's done
gets
talking.
To work.
Yeah, that's right. Let's see. They would learn to never stop looking for a job, even if you have one. Keep that resume updated. Oh, man, I haven't.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Time for this day in sports history. Today is Friday the 13th. Woo! December the 13th. Here is Jeff McGuire with this day in sports history.
Wasn't scared yesterday on Thursday the 12th. Will not be scared on Friday the 13th.
I wasn't scared until I heard Chuck's woo. Now I'm shaking in my boots.
Shaking in your boots, okay.
1936, gentlemen. The National Football League Championship took place at the Polo Grounds in New York City. Green Bay Packers beat the Boston Redskins 21-6. It's the Packers' fourth title. Redskins moved to Washington, D.C. for the 1937 season.
Yeah, people forget that they started in Boston.
1956, Dodgers trade Jackie Robinson to the Giants for pitcher Dick Littlefield and $35,000.
And didn't he refuse to go and retire?
He, in fact, pulled for love of the game. And say, tell him I quit.
One of my favorite movies ever.
Did I make you smile because I remembered that?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay. And I had to root against the Yankees in that movie.
And that tells you how good of a movie it was.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
1977, 14 University of Evansville basketball players die in a plane crash due to pilot error on his initial walkthrough before takeoff and an overweight of the plane. Continuation, a sad story on this. The lone player who was not killed, who had been out for the season, died in a car crash 2 months later.
Wow.
There is no one alive from the 1977 Evansville basketball program.
Wow.
There is actually a really cool memorial on their campus of a crying basketball. It's a fountain that make it look like in the shape of a basketball.
Right.
And it's got all of their names inscribed and everyone who died on the plane crash.
Oh, wow.
Really cool. 1983, 9,655 people see the highest scoring NBA game ever. Detroit, 186. Denver, 184.
I knew it was going to be Denver.
Denver, yeah.
And
especially in those days.
triple overtime.
I wonder how many Alex English and Kiki Vandeweghe had that day.
What year was it, Jeff?
83.
83. Kiki Vandeweghe and Alex English had to be. T.R. Dunn probably had some points in that game too.
1996, free agent pitcher Roger Clemens signs with the Toronto Blue Jays. 2003, Andre Emmett scores 19 points. And Texas Tech beats San Diego State 78-68. In 2007, the Mitchell Report is publicly released, listing the names of 89 Major League Baseball players, none of them Red Sox, that have been presumably used anabolic steroids and human growth hormones.
Why were none of the Red Sox listed, Jeff?
You know, I don't know, Jamie, but that was the one team that wasn't mentioned in the whole list.
Maybe because Mitchell was a partial owner of the Red Sox. You think that had something to do with it?
No way. Notable players, including Roger Clemens and Miguel Tejada, were mentioned in the report.
No Big Papi?
No Big Papi.
Oh, he wasn't using steroids. No Manny Ramirez?
No Manny Ramirez. And in 2018, German basketball forward Dirk Nowitzki takes the court for his record 21st NBA season with the Dallas Mavericks, surpassing Kobe Bryant's 20 seasons with the Los Angeles Lakers.
Lovable Dirk.
It is National Ice Cream Day.
Awesome. What kind are you having?
I don't know that I have any ice cream at home.
I know, but if I give you one...
chocolate chip.
Chocolate chip. Chocolate chip.
That's an interesting one.
Jamie?
Black raspberry.
Oh, black raspberry. Okay.
I might be the only person on the planet that prefers chocolate chip ice cream to chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream.
I think I would be with you on the chocolate chip versus chocolate chip cookie dough.
They make you feel better or worse?
Hard to tell.
I think if you were to ask me, I would go with a mint chip, though, today.
Yeah, a lot of people like that.
Yeah, mint chip.
Birthdays. Sunday we're going to skip to because this is way too cool not to. Happy future birthday. Justin Gray turns 29 on Sunday. Today, not a good day to be born. Just going to go ahead and say this.
Wow.
Not a good day.
Hope you're not having a baby today, then.
Yeah, delay. Because your child will never be famous enough to make the list today. Taylor Swift, 35.
Doesn't seem all that necessary.
Jimmy Fox, 57. Ted Nugent, 76. Dick Van Dyke, 99. Rex and Rob Ryan are 62. And Bo Pelini is 57.
Bo
like
Pelini's
you can't have. You think you can't have a kid today that can beat out Bo Pelini?
You're not going to beat out Taylor Swift.
Well,
You're not going to beat out Dick Van Dyke.
But Bo Pelini made the list. I mean, you don't have to be at the top just to make the list.
Just make the
Knock
list.
off the last guy.
Yeah.
And on this day, after spending 9 months on the run, former Iraqi dictator Saddam Hussein is captured in 2003. Downfall began on March 20th of 2003 when the United States led an invasion force into Iraq to topple his government, which had controlled the country for more than 20 years.
2003?
2003.
21 years ago? Saddam Hussein?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And that is this day in sports history.
That's this day in sports history. It does not seem like it was 21 years ago.
You just totally said that. That sounded like my grandfather. Saddam.
That's what George Bush, the daddy, said. Saddam Hussein. We got Saddam Hussein today. By the way, that Denver Nuggets box score from December 13th, 1983, Kiki Vandeweghe did lead the way. And I probably said that on my morning Total Sports show. That'd be my guess. December the 14th, I probably said, and Kiki Vandeweghe led the way with 51. Alex English had 47, Jamie. Dan Issel with a missile. That's what the Denver Nuggets play-by-play guy used to say. Bob Martin. Man, he was Bob Martin. I think it was Bob Martin. He was also the Denver Broncos.
Sure wasn't Bob Marley?
No, Bob Martin.
Okay.
Bob something. Bob. Okay. All I know is he would say "issel" with a missile. Yes. T.R. Dunn did have 7 points. I'm very proud of myself that I could remember T.R. Dunn from 1983. Can't remember what I had for dinner last night. I know he was a player for him. T.R. Dunn had 7. And then for the Pistons in the ball game, they were led by Isaiah Thomas. He had 47. Okay.
Zeke.
Kelly Tripucka, the former Fighting Irish Notre Damer, had 35. His dad, Frank, I need to check. I would need to check on that. I can't. I got to fact check myself on that. Kelly Tripucka had 35. Okay.
How about Notre Dame's women's basketball team with a big win last night over UConn? That was a fun game.
Yeah, good. Mm-hmm. Your boy Bill Lambier had 17.
My boy.
Yeah. And John Long, I don't remember him for the Detroit Pistons. He filled it up, man. He had 41.
It's a good day.
Yeah, it's a really good day. 6:53 this morning here on the morning drive. Well, Notre Dame, they beat UConn, huh?
Yeah, their first loss of the season.
Wow. Okay.
Notre Dame has already beaten 3 top 5 teams this year.
Goodness gracious.
The rest of the country is like, I think it was like 3-23
Holy cow.
against top 5 teams, and they are 3-0.
I mean, they didn't just beat them. They won by 11.
Yeah, it was closer than that, really. I mean, Notre Dame led most of the game. UConn came back. I don't think they took a lead. They definitely tied it with probably 4 minutes to go or so. And
that game was in South Bend.
Yeah. Good game.
How many did you say watched the Nuggets and the Pistons? 9,000 and what?
9,655.
There were 9,149 last night for Notre Dame and UConn.
Yeah. Good game last night in Iowa City, too, with Iowa State coming out on top. And that was a really close game with really Iowa leading most of the way. So their women played there yesterday. Iowa State and Iowa.
Women played.
I'm sorry, Wednesday. And then the men played there the next day.
Yeah.
They didn't do a doubleheader.
No.
And they didn't go one in one city, one in the other. They were both in Iowa City.
Both in Iowa City, yeah.
Yeah, and so I guess next year they both go back-to-back days. That's interesting.
In Ames, yeah.
In Ames. That's interesting. But great crowds and good atmosphere for both those games.
Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
If you had a gun to your head and they said, sing the 12 Days of Christmas, how many days would you be in before that you didn't have your head anymore?
What? The question is, how far could I get?
Yeah, with the 12 Days of Christmas.
Partridge in a Pear Tree.
Okay. Boom. That's
5 golden rings.
Okay, well, that's it. You're out of order, sir.
4 calling birds, 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves. A partridge in a pear tree. So what I got? So I got 5?
You got 5.
I got 5 through 1?
You got 5 through 1.
6 geese a laying.
Oh, wow, that's pretty good.
Is that right? 7 swans a singing.
Oh, wow. Look at
Swimming. 8
maids a milking?
I had no idea. Yeah. I know Jeff knows them all. I feel like recently he rattled them off.
Sure, he's a 1%er.
Yeah, so I got to 7.
That's really good.
Yeah, that's Tony Kukoc's number, so that's good.
We got Tony.
I'm going to call that a win.
Yeah.
It shocked me that I made it to 7.
I am shocked as well. Okay, so just kind of your point about driving to the basket for the Red Raiders in the game against A&M, and I don't have their specialty stats all right here in front of me, but I just did some just a quick for the last 3 games. You had like 18 points in the paint against Texas A&M. So, I mean, that's next to nothing. You had 20 points in your win against Northern Colorado, 20 of your 89. I don't know what a good number is on the men's side, because they would be able to. The analytics tells you they would be able to say, well, you need to be X number. Like on the women's side, for instance, Lady Raiders, 5th of their points that they score in the field, because I just did this the other night, 54% of their points are scored in the paint. Okay,
54%.
Yeah, 54%. Now
honestly, Chuck, I bet they wish that number was lower. I mean, you would agree they're struggling from 3-point range right now, right?
Yeah,
I bet they wish there was a little bit higher.
I think they're okay. I think they would. Yeah. Here's what they want really more than anything else on the women's side. They just want more points. Okay, they just want more points. But the 54 is okay, and the 30-something is okay. But the problem is they're not getting to the free throw line. So they're like in the second half the other night against SMU, you had 3 shots from the free throw line in the second half. And it's not because the officials weren't calling fouls on SMU. It's because you weren't putting the officials to call a foul on SMU. Okay? So you weren't getting very many second chance points either because you weren't rebounding. The problem that one of the things that they were doing those on the flip side of that, and I think the number for the Lady Raiders defensively was like they're giving up 57% of their opponent's points minus the free throws are in the paint. So those again. I was looking for the men numbers for the season. I couldn't find it just off the. I'm sure it's. I mean they keep this number. Don't.
Sure.
But I just couldn't find it off the top of my head. But like, so against Syracuse, you scored 79 points against Syracuse on the men's side. And the men had 34 points in the paint. Okay. So kind of looks like there's some games and they're in the 30s, and there's some games like Northern Colorado and A&M where maybe the three's going down and they're just falling in love with it. But it doesn't get you to the free throw line like you talked about. Your opponent's having more than you, and it's kind of shocking when you think about it because of the quality of opponent that you've been playing.
You just don't want to be that team that lives by the 3 and dies by the 3, and on some days you're like, three's not falling for us, but you know what, we got to die, so that means we got to die today. So you want to be able to say, okay, well, let's do other things, right? Let's just keep feeding JT Toppin, or let's keep driving to the basket. Let's get to the line.
So case in point, just against Syracuse, and I don't know if this is a model or not, but you had 34 points in the paint, and you were 17 of 21 from the free throw line. So 51 of your 79 points were either free throws or in the paint. Mm-hmm. That would seem to me like that's a pretty good number, because in that game you were 8 of 24 from the field. So you had 24, 50, 51, that's 75. You made 2 conventional twos. And that's about right. Like the Lady Raiders right now are averaging 3 twos that are outside the paint and inside the 3-point line. Mm-hmm. And I think SMU was averaging 4. Okay, so that's pretty much the game right now, right? Mm-hmm. That's pretty much the game right now. But if you're not getting paint points, and if you're not driving inside, you're not going to get to the free throw line, because it's very rare. I mean, we've only had it on the women's side happen, I think, a couple of times this year where a player has been fouled and when they're shooting a 3. And I think it's happened to Adley Blacklock twice. One time she made it, so she had a chance for 4. And then the other night she got fouled on a missed shot because she puts up that shot so fast. Her release is so fast that the other team has a hard time getting away from her or defending her on one hand, and they fouled her on the baseline, and she went to the free throw line, hit 2 of 3. That gave you a chance, as you got a stop and or steal or a turnover, to tie up the game later on, but it didn't work out for you. But anyway, so yeah, you can analyze these things to death, right? Mm-hmm. Let's see here, 7:21 this morning here on the morning drive. So from a player standpoint, I guess Coach McCaslin is going to meet with the media today, and I'm going to guess one of the big questions is, hey, what's the status of JT Toppin, not topping like pizza toppings, Toppin. Mm-hmm. Right?
I would imagine that's
question number 1.
Yeah.
Question number 1. Coach, tell us, and he may address it right away. He may say, JT is still day-to-day, or JT is good to go. He's ready to get out there and face Oral Roberts on Monday, and we're not gonna play him, extensive minutes, but we're gonna get him out there and get the rust off a little bit. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yep.
But he's averaging 18.6 a game. I mean, you need him. And the thing about him is he has only taken 7 threes all season long. He's hit 2 of them, but
Sure.
he's a guy that's going to drive inside. He's a guy that's going to get you to the free throw line. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, he's going to get lots of offensive rebounds and putbacks, and he's going to get the ball in the post, and he's going to go towards the rim where there's people and contact should incur.
And, at some point in time, teams are going to go, okay, how do we stop this Chance McMillan guy? Because he has your most 3 attempts, and he has, of your active players, your highest 3-point percentage. He's 25 of 48. So he's taken more attempts than anybody else, and he's made more threes than anybody else. You don't always see that.
Nope.
Where your percentage is, that high. He's at 52%. And he's a pretty good free throw shooter, too. He's 20 of 21 from the free throw line. The other thing I think that I've been impressed with on this team, it wasn't so much the other night, but they take care of the basketball. I mean, they're averaging 11 turnovers a game. Now, it's going to be interesting to see how that works out with the competition as it gets ratcheted up here in Big 12 play. Are they able to sustain that?
Sure. Big question.
But, yeah, you're right. When you look at the Big 12 right now, you kind of go, well, does it have the teeth that we thought it had? Because they haven't even started beating each other up yet. Yeah. And you've got,
But some of these teams have played really tough schedules as well. So, I mean, and, with so many new players on everybody's team, it takes a little bit of time to kind of perfectly gel together.
Yeah. I'm real curious as to how Arizona specifically and Colorado specifically are going to handle the competition in the Big 12. Because those, I mean, they've had degrees of success. Obviously, Arizona's had quite a bit of success over the years. And you might say the same thing about Utah as well. How do they handle the Big 12 and the competitive and the athletic bodies that they're going to face versus what they were doing in their respective conferences?
This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Jamie's question of the day on Double T 97.3 is brought to you by Connecticut of West Texas.
All right, so pretty simple question today for you guys.
Good.
Not difficult, just one answer.
Oh, good.
And there's no wrong answers. Okay. We're closing in on bowl season here with the Red Raiders, so I want you to tell me your favorite. You don't have to have been at the game or anything like that. Your favorite Red Raider Bowl win that the Red Raiders have. And obviously your age and how long you've been a Red Raider fan will factor into all of this. Which one's your favorite?
Holiday Bowl over Aaron Rodgers. I know they didn't want to be there. They wanted to be in the New Year's Six game and the National Championship game. Doesn't matter. Still one of my favorite trophies. It's in the locker room. Holiday Bowl over Aaron Rodgers.
You just like the picture of the whale or the trophy with the whale?
It's a really cool trophy. Like, it's a different trophy, but it's also everything that was. You're being a highly ranked team. Sure, they were unmotivated. You were, and that's what mattered.
Yeah, I don't care if they weren't motivated. Still absolutely loved it.
Okay, let's see here. I really liked the Gator Bowl in 2008, in which you came back and beat Virginia. If you asked me my favorite that I've been to, which is really kind of where I want to go, I am going to say the Alamo Bowl in 2010 when you beat Michigan State in San Antonio, 41-31.
That was not an answer I was suspecting. I mean, that was right after Leach was fired.
Yeah, right.
That was pure craziness.
It was pure craziness, but I mean,
there was no joy in Whoville.
Yeah, I would not.
That was your favorite.
Oh, I just enjoyed that game. I mean, you won. You came back and won.
You used both quarterbacks.
Yeah,
one of them was the offensive MVP, and the other one actually led you to victory.
We had a near riot with Optimum Game Day Live, but outside the Alamo Dome.
Don't get me wrong. That is a positive memory because of how it ended, and I loved the scene of everybody on the field with Ruff at the end.
I liked Ruff, yeah.
I would not put that in my top 10.
Okay, well, I mean...
But you're allowed. I mean, that is 100% allowed.
Yeah.
Said there were no wrong answers.
Yeah.
And that was just a... It's just an interesting.
There is a wrong
few
answer.
days.
When we played LSU and got wiped, we were just happy to be there.
I also went to
I said win, so it has to be win.
I also went to the 2012 Meineke Car Care Bowl there when Chris Thompson, the forgotten Red Raider head coach, they beat Minnesota 34-31. Was that
I
that
don't
game?
forget him. I often wonder where he is. Like about once a year, I look him up to see where he's coaching.
Yeah.
I wish he would have been able to stay on staff with Cliff. I really do feel like Cliff would have benefited if he'd stuck around. If he'd gotten to stick around.
Yeah, I don't know that he had that chance.
No, I don't. He absolutely did not.
Yeah.
But if he had been able to be the offensive line coach or something, because that's what he was here, just something on staff, add some gray hair to that staff, and absolutely good guy.
Yeah. Somebody says Chris Thompson is at Florida State. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he
did not have a good season.
He's kind of bounced around a little bit, but I mean he's a quality coach, no question about it. And I think when I say bounced around, he's been able to move up every time he's bounced.
Okay.
All right, Jamie, yours.
All right. Well, Jeff's is definitely high on my list too. The 2004 Holiday Bowl. Win over Cal, but number one on my list is the 2006 Insight Bowl. I mean, a major comeback. One of the greatest in college football history and bowl history, and just the way your team just kept fighting back and didn't give up, and that was crazy, absolutely crazy.
It was crazy.
That would be a fun game to go back and watch.
My brother-in-law left that game, which he. He left that game, and he'll tell you as he's walking out, the Red Raiders scored, and he thought about it, but he still walked out. He felt like that was a good omen. When he stepped out of the gate, the Red Raiders scored, and so he felt like that was a good omen. He went to a bar near that stadium, and there were some fans there from Minnesota, and so they watched the game together on this small TV in this bar. They'd all bought tickets. They'd all paid for their stuff. And because the Minnesota fans thought the game was over, thought they'd won, and didn't quite work out that way for them.
Bad deal.
Mm-hmm. Bullfighter says the 2021 Liberty Bowl. Yeah, I mean, that's a win over Mississippi State and Mike Leach.
Yeah, I would put the 2022 Texas Bowl, the win over Ole Miss, high on my list too, just because that atmosphere was electric that night. Yeah. It was, and it's an SEC team that you beat, so that's always fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's good.
It's fun. It's funny to look at the Red Raider history of bowl games and see that there are two games that are vacated by the opponent. Like Cotton Bowl in 06 with Alabama, and the Texas Bowl in 15 with LSU.
And yet, every Red Raider fan will say, no, that happened. That was the ugliest kick on the face of the earth. That kick happened.
Well,
see, that's not what I look at in that game. I look at their one touchdown they scored. His knee was down.
Yeah.
Line of scrimmage, or maybe even behind the line of scrimmage. Yeah. And then he gets up and runs for 75 yards and scores their only touchdown.
Yeah, was that game?
How about... Then again, how about we score more than 10?
We're allowed to do that.
How about we be better?
Yeah. I mean, and I'll tell you, Cliff's last game, the win over Clemson, I mean, that was a dominating win in the Tangerine Bowl, in which they won 55-15.
That was a fun one, too.
Yeah. Just because it was a fun game. Somebody says this: we tried or talked about hiring him back last year after firing Stephen Hamby, I think. Okay, well, I love that. That is like, I could have texted that in. That sounds like something I would say. Well, we tried or we talked about hiring him back after firing Hamby, I think. That sounds exactly like something I would say. Okay? Thank you for being...
Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Good morning. Well, Jeff's had really good music today. Outstanding music today. We come to you, Jamie, Jeff, and I, from the First United Bank studio here in downtown Lubbock. Look forward to hearing from you today on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Go to WT973.com for that, or the mobile app. Visual Edge IT hotline is open too at 806-771-0973. I'll buy you a Mountain Dew at the next game that we go to together. Jamie, if you can tell me who the artist was there on that Have a Holly Jolly Christmas.
I don't know.
Okay. Is it Burl Ives, Jeff? Was that correct?
See, here's the fun part. He was going to buy you a Mountain Dew and then had to check with me if he got it right. It is Burl Ives.
Yes, thank you.
I'll also say, of the entire group of Christmas songs, while that is a very famous rendition of, he is the hardest artist to remember of the group.
Yeah.
Like Bing Crosby. We can go through the list. Burl Ives is the one that people forget about.
So you're somewhat impressed by the fact that I knew that?
I'd have been more impressed if you knew that.
I knew that. I just was confirming it.
Is that correct?
Well, I just want to make sure that was correct. But I knew that was correct. Well, what you guys missed on this was I felt like Jamie was going to say Beyonce just because he was going to say, well, I really don't want to go to a game with you so that you would have to buy me a Mountain Dew.
But I wouldn't say Beyonce. I would say Beyonce.
That too.
Yeah, there's not many games you can go to and get a Mountain Dew.
Right.
Because everybody's a Coke place.
Yeah. Baylor. Waco.
Kansas State.
Kansas State, yeah. That's true too. Kansas State as well. Midwest is more Pepsi than it is Coke.
Okay.
Pepsi products, okay. Pepsi Town, things like that. Somebody says this, let's hear a round of Christmas in my hometown, Charlie Pride. Thanks. I don't know that we're taking requests today, but we'll see what we can do. 8:04 this morning here on the morning drive. All right. What do you make of the Bill Belichick hire at North Carolina? Is this going to work? I mean, and what's success for them at this point?
Oh man, I think you look at the ACC. I think success for them probably means getting to the college football playoff.
Yeah, right. And you would say, well, how hard can that be? Well, or is that going to be hard? Well, you look at SMU and what they did this year, first year in the ACC, and they're in the college football playoff. Yeah,
I think you feel like for them hiring the right guys to be around Belichick is really important, that have the connection, that maybe a little bit younger, that have a connection with a younger student athletes. I think that's really key in this situation. But I don't know that I expect it to just flop. I don't know that I expect it to be, a screaming hit. Like all of a sudden they're going to be a top 3 or 4 team in the country or anything like that. But I don't expect it to go poorly, I guess, just because he can coach, clearly. Yeah. Just all depends. I think it's really important, the people that he surrounds himself with.
Yeah, and you kind of look at this and go, does he, this is going to sound like a weird question, but given all of his success, all right, he's been a part of 8 Super Bowl winning teams. Does he get this credit he deserves for being a coach that took teams? He took teams to the Super Bowl and lost too. You can make a case of those 2 games against the New York Giants, and they could have easily won those games. And then you can also make the case of the game against the Seattle Seahawks. If Pete Carroll just hands the ball off, they just hand off. Let's give it to what's his name back here. Boom, that could take one of those away very easily.
I think Bill Belichick is in the conversation. Not saying he is, but he's in the conversation for being the great, one of the greatest coaches of all time. So to answer your question, yes, I think he gets credit.
Okay. He gets the credit he deserves. Okay. Well, because as soon as you bring up Bill Belichick, well, if you had Tom Brady, you'd win a Super Bowl too. Well, it's not just Tom Brady. He certainly helps. But there's other guys around the team as well. I think they did a pretty good job of turning over their roster over the years to make sure that they stayed successful. It's not like they stayed with the same 52, for all of those Super Bowls. I think he was, made decisions what was based on best for the team more than anything else. So he said it's great to be back home and to Carolina and back to the environment that I really grew up in. When you're little, you don't remember everything. I was too young to remember a lot of things at Carolina, but as I grew up, you hear the same story over and over again. One thing I always heard was Billy's first words were "beat Duke." So, of course, that plays to the crowd there in North Carolina. It shows that he's got a little bit of humor because you didn't always see that. And this new thing here with regard to college football is, I mean, as we know, the head coach of the football program, for the most part, he controls everything. Mm-hmm. And so Belichick will get to be a guy that he'll control everything at North Carolina. He won't have an owner per se. There's going to be boosters and things and people that he's going to have to cajole or make nice with, and the athletics director and the chancellor and the president and all that. But man, they're all going to cater to him. Well, hey, Bill wants to do it. We're going to do it. But you got to win.
Yep. And I think that he's going to have people around him that allow him to maybe not have to do all of the stuff that some of the some of the college football coaches have to do.
Yeah.
I think Belichick will be doing a weekly, North Carolina football with Bill Belichick. Be fun to host. Lucky media member.
Maybe he'll be completely different.
Maybe, yeah.
He was asked about going back to coaching at age 72, and he said, "My dad told us when you love what you do, it's not work. I love what I do. I love coaching. I love the interaction with the players. I love building a team, game planning, the game itself, working with young kids with the energy, enthusiasm. It's great every day to come to that environment." And maybe he will look at college and go, "Man, dealing with these kids and the money that they're getting is completely different than the NFL guys who were being paid a king's ransom." Mm-hmm. All around him, and it was probably hard for him to get them to do what he wanted them to do. And maybe it's going to be a little bit easier for him to get them to do what he wants them to do because he's got a little bit more of a thumb on them than the NFL.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, it'll be interesting. It's now the oldest coach in college football. Who would have thought? Who would have thunk it, right? Who'd have thunk it?
Surprise to me, that's for sure.
Yeah.
This has been the Morning Drive Podcast, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Check out our library of Double T 97.3 podcasts at doublet97.3.com.